The opinions and views expressed in the following program are those of the speakers and the host, and do not necessarily reflect those of Yoakley Scott Corporation and your sports network. And hello, everybody. Welcome inside a wonderful Thursday episode. We are winding down Running Point's week. It is August 22nd, 2024. Running Point today is going to look a little bit differently. I know normally we do a recap of the nights and then we talk about games that are happening tonight. We're going to try to do all that, but we also, I do have a plumber here that is working on some stuff in the house. So instead of trying to talk over the inevitable banging and work that's going on outside the room, what we're going to do is we're going to just play a bunch of interviews today and have you ready, set, and covered for more season previews that we've had in the can for a little bit. We're going to start with John Armini, the head coach of the Western Reserve Blue Devils. They're getting ready to open the season tonight on Ysn against Crestview. That should be fun. So there's no better way to start off the show than a coach's corner with him. So here is John Armini. Ty Bartell had a chance to talk with him, Western Reserve football.
Welcome in, everybody. Ty Bartell in with another edition of Coach's Corner, as I am joined by the skipper of the Western Reserve Blue Devils, Mr. John Armini, joining me today. Coach, how are we doing?
Thanks for having me.
It's always a pleasure to have you, Coach. And I want to talk a little bit about the team. I want to talk a little bit about the conference. I guess first and foremost, let's talk about the practices. You talked to me about some scrimmages you guys are going to be having coming up soon, but let's talk to me about some of the practices, some of the things that stood out to you and what you've seen from the team so far.
You know, we have a tough group of experienced guys who really believe in the process. So, we've had a pretty productive summer so far. But we're down kind of in the nitty-gritty here. So we got to get better pretty quickly here. We're running out of time before we open up with Crestview. But so far, we like what we see. Our older, experienced guys have provided some good leadership. Our younger guys are getting better every day. Still need some guys to step up. You know, we still need to play with a little bit more physicality. But so far, so good.
So when you talk about this team, let's talk about some names that maybe people in Berlin Center are going to have to get used to. Who are some guys that we can expect to be on the field week one?
Up front, we return Isaac Burnett and Dylan Crute, two of our better linemen. We did graduate some seniors there, so we got some battles going on. Some guys that are working hard at trying to replace some of those seniors up front. In the backfield, we get back Jack Darney, our tailback, who had a great year last year. We get back Nathan Hemberger, who plays a lot of offense and is an all-Ohio linebacker on defense. And we get Don McCarty back as well. So we got a nice little three-headed monster there with ball carriers. We're breaking in a new quarterback. He's one of our more talented, smarter kids, great worker, but he's a little green when it comes to being a signal caller. But so far this summer, he's done a great job, had a couple of good scrimmages. He's a tough kid. He likes to run and throw. Chris Pater. So on the outside, we're breaking in some new receivers. That's probably where you'll see the most new faces. We have a senior back in Alec Abrams, and we have a young guy that we're pretty excited about in Nate Alexander.
This is a game where you really have to rely on your strengths to get wins too, first and foremost. So when you talk about some of the strengths you're seeing in this Western Reserve squad early on, what would you say and what would you point to as some of the strengths you guys are going to have to lean on to get your wins this year?
So far in the summer, really looks like we'll hang our hat defensively. We get back an all-Ohio inside linebacker. We have two very good safeties in Chris Pater and Jack Darney. So we get back a lot of experience in the secondary. And up front, we get an all-Ohio defensive end back in Isaac Burnett. Some big bodies in there at tackle. We get the other returning starter back at defensive end in Jackson Young. So far in two scrimmages, we haven't really given up too many yards or points. So that group looks to be flying to the football. And we're going to need them big time next Thursday against Crestview.
You're mentioning that Crestview game. We'll get into week one, but before we do that, let's just talk about this conference too, because it's one of those gauntlet schedules. I feel like year in and year out, there's not too many gimmies, right, in the week-to-week conference schedule, MVAC Scarlet side. Talk to me about this conference. Talk to me how you guys see yourselves fitting in the conference this year.
Every interview I've given this preseason, I just say meat grinder. Last year with 12 games that we played, I think we played 8 playoff teams. Week in and week out, everybody's good. I don't know that I've ever played a schedule quite like this the last couple of years here at Reserve. Literally a playoff team every week. And then our out-of-conference schedule is pretty tough as well. So, I mean, our kids here, though, kind of embrace that. They like to be challenged, and they've responded to that. And we were able to have some success last year, and we're trying to build off of that success. But it can be tough. You got to have everything kind of in line. You got to have your guys ready to play. You got to have great game plans because, any week, any of the teams that we play can lay one on you, including us. I think that a lot of people would say that about us as well. So, with Springfield, they seem to be the measuring stick locally the last few years. They got a great staff. Seems like they just keep reloading. Mineral Ridge has gotten very good. Lowellville the last 2 years has been unbelievable. And Jackson Milton's a playoff team. Western Reserve was a playoff team. So I mean, it's ridiculous. And you just keep thinking like, at some point it has to give a little bit, but it doesn't. Everybody just keeps reloading and keeps being competitive. So I think that's a testament to the kids and the coaches in the Mahoning County League that we have.
When there's so much competition inside the conference and you guys see each other every year, I mean, everyone kind of knows everyone like the back of their hand, right? How do you find success in a conference like that too? Because you guys have been able to find your success over the years in this conference. Obviously, you take some too any given week, like you said, but when you talk about finding your success, what do you have to rest on trying to go up against an opponent that knows you almost as well as you guys know yourselves?
It is difficult, and there isn't a lot of, draw stuff up in the sand with the coaches in our league. Everybody likes to do what they do, and like teams know when they play Western Reserve what we're going to do. We know what Springfield's going to do, but you have to stop it. I really think it just comes down to how physical your kids are. It's been my experience, the last 23 years coaching in the Valley, that the more physical teams that block and tackle better always have the success. So, those are the fundamentals that we try to focus on here. I'm not the most creative person in the world when it comes to drawing up plays or schemes or whatever, but we try to execute better. And I think that's kind of what it really comes down to, and not only in our league, but in our region, and in the area in general.
Well, you previewed it a little bit, but in 1 week's due time, we're going to be talking about week 1 for Western Reserve. Preview how you guys are getting ready for this Crestview team. I think you two really match up well. You guys do a lot of things similar pretty well, too. I think this is going to be a great matchup week 1. How do you guys see yourselves trying to attack the Rebels and get a win?
Well, I think the greatest compliment I can give, Coach Perry and his staff are, that you can see the growth. You can see their younger kids getting older and better and bigger and stronger. You can see those guys really buying into their scheme. And I think our kids do that as well. So I think that it's going to be a knockdown, drag out fight. They like to be physical and run the football, and so do we. There's not going to be too many fancy plays or trick plays or, 5 wide formations that you're going to see week 1. I think you're going to see 2 teams that want to run the football and 2 teams that are built to stop the run. So it's going to be, a slobber knocker. Our kids are excited. It's, you get to open up with a D5 playoff team. That's going to attract eyes to your program, and our kids are excited about that. That they want the stage, they want to perform on those big stages.
I know you've gotten a chance to get a taste of these Berlin Center fans, but put into words too what it's like to have this community behind you, backing you every week.
I was an assistant here when I first started coaching a long time ago. And then we were able to get the program kind of going in the right direction. And then Coach Hake kind of took it out of the stratosphere, for a 10-year period or whatever. So they're used to winning. They don't have much patience for mediocre football. They want to see success. They want to see good football. But at the same time, I think they really buy into what we're trying to do. They're very supportive. Their sons really work hard. This is a very close-knit community. And these guys work. You can tell that starts at home. They listen to directions well. They do whatever we ask, and you can tell that the home environment plays a part in that. So it's a wonderful place to be. It's a wonderful place to teach and coach. And I know that we're always going to have, the community is always going to have our back, which is, you don't always have that everywhere, so that always makes coaches feel at home and makes it a good environment to coach in.
I know we've talked throughout the years too, and this isn't our first go around interview wise, preseason football or during this season. Your name's pretty synonymous with the sport of high school football. You mentioned 23 seasons, and when you put a tenure like that in, it kind of becomes synonymous. What keeps you coming back to the sport each and every year? What gives you the love, the drive for it?
It's difficult, and as life throws a lot of different things at you, you see guys bounce in and out of the profession, take some time off, and I have little kids and a wife who's a professor at Mount Union. So we're always maxed. I think the camaraderie with the coaches, I've been lucky to have some of the best coaching staffs in the area, the last 10, 12, 13 years. I've had my defensive coordinator's been with me for a decade. I have former players now coaching for me. I have mentors that taught me a lot in the game that are now on my staff. So that means a lot to me personally, to be able to share their experience with them. And I really believe in the process. I really like taking something, a difficult situation and making it successful. And I've said this before, I've taken 2 difficult jobs. LaBrea was kind of down on their luck when I took that years ago. Western Reserve was kind of down on their luck when I took that job. But I really think that's the most rewarding experience you can put yourself in is a difficult situation, and grab a shovel and start digging is what I tell my coaches. You got to get in the ring and start taking some punches and throwing some punches if you want to have success here. And I think that we do that. I think that our track record speaks for itself. And our kids are excited to build. They know that it's not easy. They know that there are no cupcakes on the schedule. But they keep coming back for more. They like the challenges, so that's exciting too, to be part of that and watch their growth and maturation, into basically manhood.
Coach, I wanna give you the chance to shout out your staff a little bit further too. Like you mentioned, you can't do it yourself too, and you shouted out some guys that were influential to you. So I want to give you a chance to take it a step further and shout out your coaching staff you're going to be bringing on this year.
Well, so I have one of the mentors I was talking about. I have 2 guys that work with us that have a lot of experience that do a great job for us. Mark Legelic and Dave Zelenak has been helping out recently. Dave was the head coach of LaBrea for lots of years. I mean, those guys have a ton of experience and they help. I have former players on staff and Nate Ostis and Connor Johnson, who does a lot of our strength and conditioning stuff. So it's rewarding seeing guys that you coached become coaches and get into the ring. And that's exciting. Logan Sheptalk is a former player of mine who came over this year from Howland. Has done a great job. He's a community member. He went to school here at Western Reserve, so he understands what this place is all about. I have a running backs, linebackers coach who's Joe Alessi, who's got some military background, who provides a lot of much needed discipline for our kids. And my defensive coordinator, who's been with me for 10 years, who's actually sitting next to me over here. I'm surprised you haven't heard him, say anything so far. Colin Dotson, he's been with me for 10 years at LaBrea, now at Western Reserve, and there's not anybody in this profession that prepares more than he does. We have our, fights and discussions, but he prepares like nobody's business, and that's always much appreciated because I always know our kids defensively are going to be in a position to have success.
Final thing for you, Coach, and it's just going to be a call out to the community. I know a lot of people are going to be watching this interview. They're going to be getting excited, hyped up for the season. Let them know why this upcoming Thursday, well, next Thursday by the time this gets out, but this upcoming Thursday, why the high school off of West Akron Campfield Road is the place to be.
Well, there's one other coach I want to mention too. I have a line coach who's been working his way through the ranks, Derek Accord. Who's done a nice job. We have our work cut out for us up front. We got some good players back, but some young guys, some big, strong guys there. We think we can be pretty good there, but he has his work cut out for us, and he's been doing a good job preparing those guys too so far this summer. As far as the season goes, I always tell the guys, it's a process. It's a quick 10 weeks, but there's a lot of different opportunities to have success there. I think we're an unfinished product, and we want to use that week 1 game as a measuring stick. I think Crestview is a Division V playoff team. And I think that if we can play with them and have success against them, that there's not anybody on our schedule we can't beat. So I think that, our guys have been working hard, and they're anxious to make everybody proud of them.
Well, Coach, we're excited for this season. We wish you the best of luck here at Ysn. As no doubt we're going to be at some games over there in Berlin Center, and we look forward to seeing the product that's out on the field and how your boys continue to grow this year.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
That was John Armini from Western Reserve Football in action tonight against Crestview at home. You can find it at ysnlive.com/live, along with all the games that we'll have on the network tonight. So make sure to go out there. Make sure to check it out. It'll be a fun time. And we'll go over the full slate of games at the end of the show. But we're going to go right back into another interview. Stay on the football field. We have Tim Cooper, the head coach over at West Branch. So Western Reserve to West Branch. I had the chance to talk with Coach Cooper. So I want you to enjoy this Coach's Corner. Hartwig here, another fall sports season preview coming at you here on YSN. We're joined by the football coach over at West Branch, Tim Cooper. Coach, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, man.
You got it. And before we start talking about the exciting stuff that we have for this year, I want to kind of get a quick recap of last year, some of the things that you think lessons were learned from both the coaching staff and the players, and what you hope the returning players can bring from last year's experience.
I think we're led by a great group of seniors. These guys have been playing since they were sophomores, so they have a lot of experience in big game situations. Last year, we had a tough battle with Canfield week 1 at Canfield, which is always a tough place to play, and we kind of got it handed to us. So that was a big learning moment. And then we were able to kind of get better and find our identity throughout the season. We had a couple really close games where our kids were resilient, showed that resiliency. Against Girard at home in a shootout, and then going down to Ridgewood was a battle for us. And then we hit a real stride there. I think we had 3 straight shutouts and played some teams in there that were, they were going through some growing pains as well. But once we found that groove, offensively, we really kicked it up. And then defensively, we made the plays that we needed to. And then we've had a great postseason run. Obviously we wanted to continue playing even after losing to Canton South, but our postseason beating a Woodridge team who was much improved, and our defense did a phenomenal job in that game. And then playing a very talented Streetsboro team at home, another great defensive performance by us. And then we just ran into the buzzsaw that was Canton South, who was extremely talented and well coached. So, obviously our kids are hungry because, they want to get past that hump. We've got a loaded region, but they learned what it takes and what it's going to take to the next level. And now it's finally their time to lead us. So we're really excited. We got a great scrimmage tonight against South Range. That should be a great test for us.
Let's talk about this roster that you're bringing together. I know there's a lot of returning faces, some new faces too. Who are the big names that you think that the fans and the media like us need to know about that should kind of be aware of before the season starts?
I think, like I said, these guys have been around for a while. So you obviously Boston Mullinex gets a lot of coverage. He's a guy who's probably going to end up being our all-time leading rusher in our school history. Joey Jackson's kind of probably end up being our all-time leading receiver. So those guys get a lot of coverage already. But Then you've got guys who've done it before, like Anthony Perry, who was a little bit quiet last year. He's had a great summer. He had a great spring, obviously with the baseball run. And then you've got some other guys that are going to be, I think, highlighted in some different aspects. Gavin Gregory is a matchup problem. He's 6'6", 235 pounds. He runs well, and he plays tight end for us. And then Jeremiah Thomas won our quarterback job. He's a dynamic athlete, and our offense is going to look a little bit different with him back there just because of his skill set. But then you can't go wrong with the defensive side of the ball as well. Jack Flickinger is going to be our leader on defense. He's a Mike. He's playing inside the box this year. He's going to be a 3-year starter. Garen Harlan is playing outside backer this year for us, and we're excited about the physicality that he brings to the team. And then Carson Graham is a mastermind in the back half. He's going to really help us get aligned and make sure that we're doing all of our assignments correctly. So those are kind of guys that we're going to lean on defensively. And then in the trenches, you got to give those guys some credit and give those guys some love too. So Dom Slyman anchors both our offensive and our defensive line. Hayden Martin's going to be a 2-year starter, and he's playing center for us. Those guys are really going to anchor our offensive line, and we're going to be counting on them this year.
One thing I've learned from this West Branch program, watching them for the 4 or 5 years we've had them on now on YSN, is even if outside there are question marks at the quarterback, there's not. I mean, when Drew stepped in, a lot of people were questioning, hey, what's Drew DeShields going to look like at quarterback? We know what he did. Same thing with Bo Alazaz. He came in. What's he going to look like? He came in. Let's talk about Jeremiah. You said he won it. What is he going to bring to the table, and what makes you confident that he's going to be the next person to have that kind of skill set where you think you have question marks, but then you learn really quickly, hey, this kid knows what he's doing back there.
Yeah. Well, JT's had a great summer, man. He's gotten a lot better over the course of the summer, and he's a dynamic athlete. We clocked him in the 4.4s when he ran his 40 for us in the summer over the conditioning period, and he's been a 2-year starter of basketball at point guard since his freshman year. He had a great winter with those guys. He started on the baseball team the last 2 years in the outfield. He's very, very, very electric. So he's a well-diverse athlete, which is what we're looking for at that position. And he's a kid that people naturally, follow. He's a leader. Even if he doesn't necessarily always say something, kids just naturally follow him. He has got great leadership skills that he's continuing to try and hone. So, he's a lefty, so that'll be a little bit different for us this year. But his athleticism is something we're really excited about, the different things that he can do in the run game, different things that he can do, when plays break down. And then we're just, he's also going to do our offense. He's been in our system for the last 3 years. He knows what we're looking for. He knows our reads, our progressions, and different things like that. So we're really excited about him, and I think he's going to have a great future, just like those other guys did ahead of him.
He is not the only one that's coming off the baseball team that just won a state championship. If people have been living under a rock for some reason in Beloit, you guys have a state champion baseball team. You're bringing off of that. What does that do for this team? What does all these players that are coming off of that do for the locker room and having that winning championship mentality?
I think that, just the confidence that they can get there and they can do it. They played in big games. They played in big games all spring long. They had a very tough non-conference schedule on that baseball schedule that really, I think, helped them be prepared for postseason play. And then at the end of the day, those kids were resilient. They made play after play after play. I think the state title game, when you're down 2-0 to a team who hasn't given up a run all tournament long, and you find a way to win, that's contagious. And we're hoping that can escalate and be part of our football season as well. We've got a lot of those kids that are on our team, so we're excited about that, and it definitely has breeded confidence in our program. And I think that our kids they want to reach the pinnacle. They want to get to Canton. Obviously you can't get there without getting through week 1, so we want to make sure that we're focused on the current opponent at hand.
Let's talk about the schedule. It'll start with week 1, but I want to start talking about your conference first and just what you expect out of the EBC this year. It's always a tough one. The rivalries in the EBC are just a little bit more heightened, I think, than most conferences. What do you see out of the conference this year? What do you think are going to be some of the things that are going to be the biggest obstacles to you guys winning it?
I think, the EBC is going to be, I think, much improved this year. I think those guys, we had a good season last year with a lot of different teams, but I think Carrollton will be much better. I think they're going to be, contesting for the league title. I think Marlington, anytime you can have your coach back and your quarterback back, that gives you a little bit of confidence going into the next season. So I think Marlington will have another good year. Alliance is always going to be super skilled, and Coach does a great job over there with that program. So, they're going to play us really tough. We get to go there this year, play in a great environment over there, and that's a rivalry game for us. I think Salem, we were fortunate enough to go watch Salem play Canfield in the scrimmage, so we got a little taste of what they might look like come week 10, but they're going to be a much improved team as well. And then I have some connections with the Minerva coaching staff with Coach Altenhoff, who was at West Branch prior, and he said, their numbers are getting better, and they had a pretty good scrimmage against Malvern. So I think all of those opponents are going to be much improved. Obviously, I think that since we haven't lost a league game since 2019, we're going to have a target on our back. And every team's going to give us their best game of the year. So, our kids are ready for that. That's no pressure, no diamonds. And our kids are, repeating that and ready for the upcoming challenges.
You also got non-conference games to get yourself ready for that challenge. So let's talk about the teams that pop up outside of the EBC and who you're excited to kind of test yourself against.
I think each opponent that we're facing is going to bring out a different element to things that we need to work on. I think Canfield is obviously a big one. We haven't won an opener in a couple of years. We haven't been able to beat Canfield in a couple of years. And I think that our kids are really motivated to try that and get that opportunity come next Friday. So that's the number one is taking care of business there. With we got to be more physical. We got to play better defense. We got to take care of the ball a little bit better against those guys and hopefully establish a run game against them. But that's going to be a great battle to see where we're at because of how established that program is. Then you have Woodridge. Woodridge is going to be always really talented. They have a lot of speed over there in that program. That track program does a great job. And there are a lot of guys that are multi-sport athletes over there. So I thought Coach did a great job of the improvement that we saw from week 2 to week 11. They took us to the wire. So obviously going to be a great challenge there. Girard is another team that they just reload. They don't have any rebuilding years. They have reload years. So we know that that's going to be a shootout there. That they're going to be high paced and up tempo, similar to what we've been in the past. So obviously going there will be another tough challenge. And then I'm really excited about the challenge that Cheney's going to bring to us. I think that that's going to really prepare us for league play as well as postseason play. When you have teams with the team speed that, Perry and Glenville and Streetsboro and Lake Catholic and Akron Booked all have it that are in our region, you've got to be exposed to that every once in a while. And I think that, Cheney with elite team speed and the way the coach has done a great job over there with the dynamic athletes that they have, that'll be a great challenge for us. And then, you have Allen. We got to go to Trumbull County, which is always a tough environment to play. So, we got to take it 1 week at a time and continue to get better every day in practice.
Week at a time. When you have a big scrimmage tonight against South Range, and then you have a week of practice before week 1, what are some things on the coaching staff's checklist of things they want to see kind of accomplished and figured out before that week 1 game using the scrimmage tonight and the practices that you do have left?
Yeah, I think, last week we had a great scrimmage against Struthers. That's another talented team. We want our scrimmages to be tests for us. And I thought that our leadership was great. We had some adversity throughout the scrimmage. Things didn't go always our way. And our kids, I thought, battled and competed. This week, our kind of key term that we wanted our kids to see was we wanted to see consistency. So we want to see consistent effort. We want to see consistent assignment, accomplishment. We want our kids to do everything very consistent. I think that's really important when developing a program. So consistency is the main thing that we're looking for tonight. We want to see kids flying around. We expect them to play with effort. That's what West Branch football is. And we expect them to execute. South Range is going to do a great job. Coach Rock over there, he's probably scheming it up for us, knowing him. But we're excited to test ourselves against a team that, made it to the regional finals, has won a state championship in the last couple of years, and is extremely well coached. So we got a couple tricks and things up our sleeves for tonight, and I hope they do too. So it's going to be a great battle, great competition.
I like it, Coach. Like hearing it. I know that's a matchup that everyone would have loved to see in a normal game. So scrimmages, got to give the fans what they want a little bit, right? Got to give them a little bit of that pizzazz. You've been here before. You've done our coaches' corners. You know that we don't let you go without talking about your staff. You get the interviews, but we know they do a lot behind the scenes to help you build this program. So talk about the people behind you, your coaching staff, and the other people that make this West Branch football program great.
Yeah, I think that we put a great staff together, and we have a little bit of continuity, or continuity is the better word. My bad. With that staff, we return everyone from it. We have Sean Alizos, our defensive coordinator. He's a very experienced coach. Has done a great job, and helping out with baseball. Even now, Bo's gone and graduated from West Branch. He's still helping out coach, which is really important for us. Coach Harris, obviously the most previous head coach at West Branch. I don't know what I would do without him and his guidance that he's helped me as a football coach and just as a man in general. He's a great role model for our kids. And like I said, he's an amazing person. We got Bob Shepard back again. He's been here since the 80s, and we love him. He brings a different energy to our program. We got Chris Thomas, a very energetic guy, military type base guy, very good guy. Coach DeVanzo from, the Poland area, another guy. Kids love him. They mesh really well with him. We've got my brother, Coach Cooper, on the staff. I think that's been a great hire the last 2 years. That's not me being biased. He's more of a defensive guy, I'm more of an offensive guy, so we might butt heads a little bit, but he's doing a great job with our secondary. Coach Mardick is doing a great job with our receivers. And then you got some down the line guys. Nick Wilson joined our coaching staff this year. It's his first year coaching. He's going to be helping out with the freshmen. We're really excited about what he could bring to the program. You got Paul Hostetter, an experienced guy. He's been a defensive coordinator at a couple different places, so he's still coaching freshman ball for us. So getting those elite minds down there is going to be really good. And Sean Conjemi was added to our coaching staff. Kind of a strength and conditioning based guy, but going to help with freshman football. But I think the people that really make it run are the people that are really behind the scenes, like John Hancock is our statistician, and he does a phenomenal job with everything that he does. He helps set up the field and do a bunch of different things around the school. He's just a West Branch lifer, and this program would be lost without guys like him. Rick Mullinex with our film. Those guys do a phenomenal job. Joe Malta drives from Pittsburgh. He's one of my buddies from college to film games on Friday nights for us. So it's a special place to be. It's a special program to be a part of because it's so much bigger than just one person or one player. So we're really excited about the season that we're about to have, and we hope that the West Branch faithful bought their rally towels, and we can get some different themes going for the upcoming year.
One thing about West Branch faithful, they'll always show up, and that green sticks out anywhere you're at. So you'll never have trouble finding them. They're excited. We're excited, Coach. Thank you so much for taking the time previewing the season with us. Can't wait for week 1. We'll be there all season, and we'll talk to you again real soon.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
That was Coach Cooper from West Branch gearing up for a football season that starts tomorrow. Can't wait for that. West Branch, when we're talking about that football team, and I said it in that interview, I said it in the story for the Coach's Corner, they have a knack for just putting a quarterback in the right place and giving him a environment to thrive and shine. I mean, I remember when it was Drew DeShield's first season, right? And everyone was like, well, what's West Branch going to look like? We just lost Brock. Brock was a great quarterback. What are we going to look like now? And Drew DeShields was like, that's what we're going to look like. And he shined for a star. And then Drew DeShields graduates. And last year it was Bo Alazos. And it was the same question for West Branch from the outside hearing it. What's the quarterback situation in West Branch? What's this team going to look like with a brand new person under center? And we all saw the things that Bo Alazos was able to do under center. I don't see that trend not continuing with Jeremiah Thomas. He's going to step into that role, and they just have a culture that's built to let quarterbacks thrive. They have athletes for days at West Branch. Jeremiah Thomas is an absolutely stud athlete. We see him on the basketball court, and baseball field all the time. We know what he's capable of. And he's just another guy that's going to step into this role that's already got plenty of leadership varsity experience in the other sports. So he's just going to be like, guys, I've been here before. I know what it takes to win. I just want a state championship. I have no trouble putting faith in Jeremiah Thomas and that quarterback room for West Branch. And we also talked about that baseball team and what that does for a locker room to bring championship mindsets into the fold. That baseball team knows what it takes to win, right? So they're going to come into that locker room, the players that were a part of that baseball program, they're going to say, hey, This is the things that we did that culminated into a championship. And everyone else has to listen because they got the trophy, right? There's no denying that what they did worked. So that's going to be a big, big lift for West Branch football as well. So can't wait to see what they have in store tomorrow at Canfield. I mean, it's the game, right? It's been the game for a while. I should say at home against Canfield, right? So, but that's been one of the big week 1 games for the last couple of years, and it's going to be another big one this year as well. Can't wait to see what the Warriors have in store. Can't wait to see what the rest of the show has in store. We're going to take a break, come back with more interviews on Running Point, brought to you by our good friends over at Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown.
21 News delivers the news as it happens, using the latest technology from where it happens.
Live here outside the Mahoney County.
On air, online,
Wednesday afternoon weather update.
Very dangerous.
and on the 21 News social media platforms.
I'm on the road right now.
21 News, the Valley's only locally owned source for trusted news since 1953.
Craftsmanship to us is 60 years of pride and dedication.
Passed down from generation to generation.
The hardwood floors that your kids take their first steps on.
The solid wood doors you quietly close at night.
The things we create day in and day out are the products that end up turning your house into a home.
At Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods, uncompromising quality and craftsmanship built our business.
And it will keep us moving forward for generations to come.
Going the extra mile at Greenwood Chevrolet means we want to take care of the community that takes care of us too.
And we have to work together always. And that's how you stay in business for 40 years.
You know, I love being a helper because when I help somebody, it makes me feel good.
It means a lot that I can make a difference in others' lives.
So I will do everything I can and just being there for them every step of the way.
I want them to know within the first 5 minutes that they could depend on me. That's what going the extra mile means, only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
Before the lights come on, before the workday begins, before a long day is ended, or it's time to have fun. It all starts with the people at Joe Dickey Electric. From replacing a light fixture in your home to building a substation for your business, no job is too big or too small. The people of Joe Dickey Electric power them all. Joe Dickey Electric, over 60 years of powering the Mahoning Valley.
And welcome back to Running Point on ysnlive.com, brought to you once again by our good friends over at Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. Anthony Hartwig with you. Can't wait for you guys to be a part of tomorrow. Full slate of football. It's going to be a good show. Before we get there, we have one more interview to get to. We're going back to Ty Bartell. He just turned in another great interview today, and we're going to the volleyball court this time around. Christina Baker, the head coach of the Newton Falls volleyball team, for you here tonight on a volleyball pack Thursday as well. Football starting, volleyball in action, soccer in action. We'll hear this interview. We'll come back and we'll talk about all the games that are going on tonight.
Ty Bartell in with another edition of Coach's Corner. This time we head to our friends over in Newton Falls territory with home of the Tigers with their head volleyball coach, Christina Baker, joining me today. Coach Baker, how are we doing today?
I'm doing good. Another great day. It's sunny outside, ready to get started.
I know, and you're talking to me a little bit about the schedule you always have to put together, and it's a busy time of the year getting prepped for a volleyball season. What's that looking like right now? What's the process been looking like as we gear up for the season?
It's been busy. We have a short amount of time that we have to get ready for the season before we have our first game. Scheduling scrimmages, they just changed up our scrimmage schedule a little bit. We were allowed to add another scrimmage in there, so it was nice to get some more playing time. We've been real busy. We've already had 4 scrimmages, I believe, so far. I've lost count in the last few days here, but just getting ready for a game next week and chugging along one day at a time.
When you talk about the scrimmages that you've had and the practices that you've had, what stood out about your girls this year too? What have you noticed, and what are some names maybe we should get used to for this season?
Well, I got 3 starting seniors coming back this year. Looking for Peyton Murphy really to step it up for us on defense in the back row. Of course, we got Lily Sate, who's been a middle hitter up there for us, starting for this will be her 4th year starting varsity for us. So she's been a mainstay for us up in the front row as a hitter and a blocker. We also have Logan Elliott coming back this season. We lost her last season due to an injury, so getting her back this year is big for us on the outside. I think they've shown some great leadership in the gym so far, bringing this team along with us. We've got some young faces coming up. We still have a big junior class that I'm fitting some people into some spots that we needed. Some returning juniors from last year. I have Hannah Wright coming back as another middle hitter. Carson Gazda and Maddie Knight also filled in for us on defense last year, and they're coming back. So those are some big names that we'll have returning with a lot of experience coming in. And we had Jada Blucher, who is one of our sophomores that started last year as a freshman, and we're seeing some big things from her this season. It's nice to see them all back in the gym. For some names we have filling in some spots, we have Maddie Davis, Addie Pope, Kate Palesko. Like I said, I got a big junior class. Morgan Kendall coming back this season. So they've been filling in. They know the system. They know where I want them to be. I'm looking at another sophomore also helping us out. And so I'm hoping that, it's a well-rounded group. This year also I have a junior, Tori Fanton, filling in as our setter this year because I lost a senior setter last season, so she's been doing a good job trying to fill in some spots that we needed her to. Last year she played primarily defense for us, so her going into that setter role is one of those, I have a setter that can play really good defense, so last year she was doing some defense and serve receive and helping out Danny, but this year she really needs to step up into that leadership role and leading the team and learning the process of being a varsity setter and what it takes. So it's been a fun group.
It felt like this theme last year too. It was a very scrappy group too. I mean, you guys go 16-9, a really good season by all means. When you talk about that, when you lose a little bit, but you bring back a lot of power hitters too, a lot of stat leaders from last year. What are some things you've been emphasizing in these practices too? I'm sure it's probably you want to build from that 16-9 season, considering what you're returning.
Yes, I mean defense is always my biggest thing that I preach is defense. Our defense makes our offense. Defense starts everything, whether it's serve receive, whether it's just moving on defense. So a lot of those returning defensive people, I'm hoping we can just pick up where we left off last year. And I push defense for everybody, whether they're a middle hitter, whether they're outside hitter, just front row, even our setters. I push defense for everybody, and I strive in us. I think I take pride in our defense. I think, and being scrappy and talking and communication is a big one. I mean, I think communication is always an issue, but Tori learning her hitters and our defense talking, Peyton being back there in the back row. I told her, you kind of got to direct traffic, and everybody's got to play, one point at a time, one play at a time. And whether you're in the front row or the back row, I expect everybody to play good defense to get us started. And I like front row hitters and back row hitters too. So the offense has got to finish it, but the defense has got to get it started.
You obviously were pretty competitive last year in the conference. It's always a gauntlet of a conference to get through too. Talk to me about what you guys see in the conference this year too, and how you guys are going to try to be competitive again in that very top MVAC gray side.
Well, I think for the most part, coming into we do have a very tough conference, and I think, every night you got to bring it. You got to be ready to play every single night. And we're bringing Southeast into the mix also. And I know Southeast, we've played them the last few years. We always have competitive games with them. They have a very strong program. I mean, everybody knows Coach Tarka from Southeast. She was actually my coach in high school, so I'm very familiar with her. So, having Southeast in there too, along with Garrettsville and Crestview and LaBrea and Brookfield and everybody else. I mean, I think we're all very competitive, and we're going to compete every single night, with LaBrea and Brookfield and those teams that we've had in our league in the past. I think we have a history that, we're going to battle it out when we step on the court.
Looking at your team this year, I mean, just preview the schedule outside of the conference too. Some matchups you're excited to test your girls with.
Well, we had Maplewood added on there, and I know they've had some competitive teams in the past. We saw them play actually a few years ago back in the D4 conference. I think they were pretty high seeded and had some decent teams. We also added Salem on there this year, so I know in the past they've had some very competitive teams. I think it's good for us to see those different teams. I mean, you get a taste for what it's like outside of our conference, because, you know, you get used to playing the same people every year and everything. So I think we have some strong competition that's going to come in and we'll be able to compete with.
I want to talk a little bit about your history in volleyball. You talked about Tarka being your coach too, and we already know she's been there for years too. She's one of the legends, like you said, in the game. What inspired you though to want to be a coach and you yourself give back to the game and give back to the youth too coming up?
Well, when I was in high school, I played volleyball, basketball, softball, and I was doing stuff all year long, and I loved playing. I loved competing. Getting into coaching was my way of competing without, you know, maybe getting up there a little older than I want to be or I'm able to compete anymore. When I stopped playing sand volleyball and doing all that softball stuff, this was a way for me to get out there and compete. And I want the youth and the younger girls to understand, you know, what it's like to go out and have fun, enjoy the game, learn the game, and learn how to compete and have fun playing the game. I think is the most part. I think, you know, I talked to a lot of coaches, and the decrease in numbers and athletics all around. You know, my husband coaches girls basketball. I've coached softball here. So I see there's not as much interest in girls getting out and playing sports. And we play and practice and work just as hard as the boys do, and they deserve to get out there and show what they've got and get people involved in it as much as we can. I have some junior high coaches that, you know, they get excited about coming in. They've played volleyball before and everything, and they want to encourage that in their group. And coming up, I think I want them to, you know, portray what I'm expecting when they come up into the high school. And I've had some former players that have been down there also. And when you see former players going out and coaching and getting girls involved and getting excited about it, then that promotes the other girls to get involved as well, and the younger girls.
In your experience with coaching, what's one of the biggest things you've learned from then to now, from maybe the starting point to now?
Well, I'm going into my 19th season here, and I would say it's just, you know, a different mentality in the girls, a different excitement level. You know, it's a different generation than what you're used to. You know, when I first started, there wasn't cell phones practically attached to their hip all the time, and you didn't have to really, you know, do something to get the girls excited about the sport as much as you do now. I feel like you have to keep them interested, keep them you know, engaged all the time.
What have been some of your keys to try to find that engagement too? Because I mean, you said you guys have a decent numbers. It's hard, obviously, with decreasing numbers, but you guys are still able to field a team, and that's always excellent. What do you do to try to keep those girls engaged too and keep them interested in the sport?
I think at the high school level, I try to do something, you know, they're not expecting at practice or maybe at a game. I know I'm probably a pretty unorthodox coach out there compared to other people. I like to show them that I'm excited for them to be there and to play also. And I have a lot of girls, you know, they come in and on game day and they're like, are you ready today, Coach K? Are you ready for the game? And I tell them, I'm always ready. You know, I try to be excited about practice or do some special game or team building activity at practice that's going to keep them off guard or keep them engaged in what we're doing. And I think when they're successful, I think it's not always about winning and losing, but, you know, if we go out and compete and play hard and you can tell me that you gave everything you had that night, then you're going to feel good about yourself and promoting that confidence. And women these days and the girls, you know, feeling good about themselves being out there and what they're able to accomplish. You know, this is where you started when you're in junior high or when you're a freshman, and look how far you've come, and I want them to be proud of that.
You mentioned your tenure with Newton Falls too, and I mean the Baker name is pretty synonymous with girls athletics at Newton Falls. What keeps you coming back year in and year out to Newton Falls specifically? What is it about the school that has your heart?
You know, it's kind of a very close-knit community. You kind of feel like everybody knows your name out on the street, and the girls know everybody, and people keep coming back. You know, we have a lot of alumni that come back to watch games. It's a very close-knit community, and you feel like everybody's involved here, whether it's just in the school and the other, you know, the girls' soccer team is very supportive of the girls' volleyball team or stuff like that. I feel like it's a very close-knit community, and everybody just celebrates each other here.
I want to give you a chance to shout out the rest of your coaching staff and some other big names in the volleyball program that you want to shout out and you feel deserve a little bit of recognition.
The biggest one is my husband. I couldn't be here without him and his support and doing everything he does. The administration who has given us both, this opportunity to be here every day with the girls and, the girls in general too, and the parents that have supported us through the years. We've seen a lot of girls come through and a lot of parents. And we've had girls that have had sisters that have been part of the program for 10, 12 years altogether. So their continued support and everything, because, even after they've been gone, they've contacted us and been like, hey, what you've said has really impacted us, or we want to know how everybody's doing. So I think that's the biggest thing, those closer people. I've also had a couple of players that have come back and been very supportive. Lindsay Brockway, she has always, I think I had her as a freshman the second year I coached, and she's always come back and been like, hey, whatever you need me to do to help out. And she's been a part of the program, and it's good for the girls to see that younger person that has been part of the program to come in and help out. Madison Spollinger and her sister Atlanta have been a part of the program for a long time, and their family in general has been a big supporter of girls athletics, whether it was junior high and high school also. So I think just everybody in the community and everything they have to say and their support. And I think girls athletics here have come a long way since when I first started, and girls in general have come a long way since I first started in their confidence and being proud of what they have to offer to the school and the community as a whole.
Well, you've been a big name and a big driving force behind all of that change and all of that growth that we've seen throughout Newton Falls girls athletics, no doubt. Coach, to put a bow on this whole thing, let's shout out your first game, call out the community, even though I know they're going to be there in support of you guys, but let them know your first game. I believe it's a home game as well, too, so it's pretty soon.
Yes, we are playing Monday against Lordstown. It's a home game, so, a lot of local people. We'd like to have a big group here and as much support as we can. The girls would love it. I know they're excited just to play our first game and get everybody in here and ready to go.
Less than a week, folks. Less than a week. This upcoming Monday. Get out there and support, too. Newton Falls looking to have another winning season under the tenure coaching of Coach Christina Baker. Thank you so much, Coach, for taking the time out of your day to chat a little bit about your team, too. We wish you the best of luck this season. I'm sure we'll be talking to you again real soon.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Christina Baker from Newton Falls. And if you don't know Newton Falls girls sports, the Bakers are kind of blanketed across the whole spectrum. Christina coaches volleyball, softball. Her husband coaches the basketball team. So there's never a season when we're not talking to a Baker in some way or form. And we thank them always for their time. They're always a great conversation. They might be going for the record for most coaches' corners on YSN. I was joking with Tony Shaheen when we did her volleyball coaches corner for Mooney. Hey, you're going for the record, but the Bakers are right there too. Christina Baker has 2 a season. Mark Baker right there with her, right in the basketball season. So very, very fun people to talk to. We thank them for their time, and we can't wait to see what Newton Falls does this year. So now what we're going to do, we're going to go into the scoreboard, brought to you by our good friends over at Burnett Pool Spas and Hot Tubs. We're going to pull it up and preview the games that we have tonight. It might just be the busiest night on YSN in the whole season. I don't know if there's another sports season, fall or another day in fall, another day in winter or spring, that will have as many sports going at the same day at a high clip as we see today. We have 7 football games going on. Crestview going to Western Reserve. Walsh Jesuit going to Ursuline. Howland hosting Niles. Warren JFK going to Liberty. We have Conneaut going to Grand Valley. And Jackson Milton going to Matthews. Warren Harding going to Canton McKinley. So we have 7 football games. It's a full day of volleyball because Thursdays are one of the days where they really pack it in. So we have 4, 8, 12, 16, 18 volleyball games going on. Fitch going to Lakeview. That'll be a really good one. Hoban welcoming in Copley to try to stay undefeated on the year. Mooney goes to Cheney for their first Steel Valley Conference matchup. Jefferson hosting North. East will be hosting Akron North. We have Wyndham hosting Badger, Camel going to Springfield, Champion going to Brookfield. Champion's been off since their tri-match over the weekend. Hubbard going to South Range. We have LeBray going to Garfield. That'll be a really good matchup. We have Lakeside going to Pymatuning Valley. Sebring hosting Lordstown. Middle Ridge trying to get their first win of the year. They'll be hosting Lowville. Poland and Niles squaring off with each other. Newton Falls in the southeast. Coach Baker just talked about that matchup on our coach's corner. Girard going to hosting Struthers. Wellsville going to United, West Branch going to Boardman. So that's a lot of fun volleyball. But if that wasn't enough, hey, guess what? We have boys soccer, 3 of the matchups today. Girard and Louisville squaring up. Edgewood going to Pymatuning Valley. United going to Heartland Christian. We have girls soccer on the matchup. It's the red versus blue. It's the rivalry game. East Liverpool versus Beaver Local. We also have golf going on today. And let's go to the golf matchups that are happening. You got Bristol at St. John. On the girls' side, you have Struthers, Poland, and Knoll Run. You have United and West Branch at Twin Springs. Those are both morning tee-offs, so they're probably already done. Columbiana and Boardman teeing off at 3 at Mill Creek. South Range and Hubbard going to be at Pine Lakes. Boys golf also in action today. Austintown Fitch hosting Girard. Columbiana going to Southern Local. Garrettsville Garfield going to Crestview. Oakland going to Beaver Local. And then South Range and Hubbard both going to be golfing at Mill Creek as well. So the action today is just jam-packed. Let's start with the broadcast that you'll be able to see. We'll have 3 volleyball matchups on the network tonight. I will be in Lakeview for Austintown Fitch coming to town against the Bulldogs. Ty Bartell will be in Hoban as they host Copley. Eric Hughes will be in Cheney for that matchup with Cardinal Mooney. So it doesn't always work out that way, but the first 3 matchups on the scoreboard are the 3 that are being broadcasted today. So those 3 will be on. We'll have 6 football games, 6 out of the 7 football games broadcasted. Every game is going to have a 2-person crew, so you're going to be in for a treat. Crestview Western Reserve, Chris Colucci and Billy Capabianca will be on the call there. Tim Corso and Osiris Talbot will have the call for Ursuline hosting Walsh Jesuit. We'll have Noah Ricks and Dakota Costal at the Howland versus Niles game. We'll have Jordan Barber and Anthony Malone both doing Warren JFK and Liberty. Tyler Hartz and the WOW TV crew have you covered at Grand Valley for their matchup with Conneaut. And then Jackson Milton and Matthews will be covered by DJ Yoakley and Chris Sigler tandeming up going to Matthews for that game. So 6 out of the 7 games going to be broadcasted on ysnlive.com/live. Some other broadcasts happening tonight on the network. We have some soccer going down too. We'll have video-only coverage of Orange Soccer against NDCL. That'll be boys and girls. We'll have video-only coverage of Poland Soccer hosting Salem on the boys' side. And Owen Clean will be at Beaver Local for their matchup with East Liverpool on the girls' side. So we have soccer on the network tonight, volleyball on the network tonight, football on the network tonight. And we'll have golf recaps on the website as well when we get those scores in. So it is a busy day on YSN. Maybe, like I said, maybe the busiest day of the year. I don't think there's another day in the year where we'll have multiple games from every sport, 4 sports across the way. Actually 5 sports: football, girls and boys soccer, volleyball, golf. So 5 sports in action today, and they're all volume, right? Except for girls soccer only has 1. Everything else we have at least 3 or 4 matchups going on. So very busy day at YSN. We will have a lot of recaps coming up tonight, so make sure to tune into that. Stay up to date on our website, ysnlive.com. I want to thank you so much for tuning in today. Running Point always brought to you by our good friends over at Greenwood Chevrolet. So if you enjoyed today's show, make sure to give them a shout out and thank them for their sponsorship of Running Point. We will be back tomorrow to talk about all the football going down tomorrow night. Running Point will be back tomorrow 1 to 2. And like I said, it is always brought to you by our good friends over at Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. Thank you so much for tuning in again.